The gunshot tore through the stillness of the night, a crack that echoed across the rolling hills of Willow Creek, Tennessee. Margaret Hensley crumpled to the ground, her scream piercing the air, one hand clutching a can of kerosene, the other clawing at the stable door she'd been trying to force open. Flames licked the corner of the building, casting an orange glow. Inside, my horses whinnied in terror, hooves pounding against wooden stalls. The cows bellowed, knocking over feed buckets in their panic. I stood there, shotgun still warm in my hands, heart racing like a runaway train. Margaret, I growled, her name bitter on my tongue. She only moaned, blood staining the dirt beneath her pristine HOA blazer. The neighbors would hear the shot. The police would come. Headlines would scream. Local farmer shoots HOA leader in midnight chaos. But they wouldn't know the truth not yet. They hadn't seen the months of harassment, the threats, the calculated cruelty Margaret had unleashed on me and my family. As I stood over her, hands trembling, I realized this wasn't her first trespass on my land, but it would be her last. Let me tell you how it all began. I'm Tom Carver, a 54-year-old widower running a small farm in Willow Creek, just outside Chattanooga. My grandfather homesteaded this land after World War II, and my father kept it alive. When I inherited it, I turned it into a sanctuary for rescued animals, horses, cows, and even a few goats. For years, I lived quietly, until the Willow Creek HOA elected a new president, Margaret Hensley. She swept into our community with her BMW, designer sunglasses, and an agenda sharper than a butcher's knife. A retired executive, she said, though no one knew from where. She started with petty fines: mailboxes too rusty, grass too tall, my rooster too loud. Then she set her sights on my farm, calling it an eyesore that tanked property values. I tried to play nice. When she fined me $50 for visible hay bales, I stacked them out of sight. When she called my goats unsanitary, I had the vet send her a clean bill of health. I thought compliance would bore her, but Margaret didn't want peace. She wanted war. It started with unannounced HOA inspections. Yellow warning stickers appeared on my fences, my stable, and even my tractor. She claimed my animals violated community standards, ignoring that my farm predated the HOA by decades. Then came the letter 6 in a month. Fines for excessive barnyard noise. Fines for odors. Fines for unauthorized gatherings when I let kids visit to feed the ponies. One evening, she showed up at my gate, clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Mr. Carver," she said, voice dripping with disdain, "your farm is a blight on Willow Creek's future." I leaned on the fence, keeping calm. "This land's been here longer than your HOA, ma'am." Her eyes narrowed. "Consider this your final notice." The next day, someone cut my pasture fence. 3 cows wandered onto a neighbor's lawn. As I herded them back, a sheriff's deputy rolled up with Margaret in the passenger seat. She accused me of endangering public safety. The deputy, a young guy named Sam Torres, let me off with a warning, but Margaret's smirk told me this was just the beginning. Things escalated. She filed a county complaint, claiming I was illegally housing livestock. I spent $800 on a lawyer to prove my zoning rights. One night, I found my stable door ajar, tools stolen, and HOA rules scrawled in paint on the wall. I reported it, but with no witnesses, the case went cold. Margaret denied everything, laughing when I confronted her. "Vandalize your muddy shed? I have better things to do." Fear crept in. I installed motion lights and trail cams and started locking every gate. My animals were my life. I couldn't let her hurt them. Then came the night that changed everything. At 1:47 a.m., my dog, Scout, started barking like mad. I spotted a figure scaling my fence, holding a can kerosene, I guessed. Grabbing my shotgun and flashlight, I ran outside. In the beam, I saw her, Margaret, in dark clothes, pouring kerosene on the stable. She lit a match and shouted, "This ends now, Tom. No more filth." I yelled for her to stop. She ran. I chased. She tossed the match, and flames erupted. I aimed low and fired. She fell, clutching her leg, still gripping the can. The sheriff arrived, lights flashing. Margaret screamed I tried to kill her, but my trail cam caught her setting the fire. The flames were contained, thank God, but the damage was done. They didn't arrest me that night, thanks to the footage. But 2 days later, Margaret sued me for assault and emotional distress. I decided to fight back. At the county office, I discovered my farm was exempt from HOA rules, a fact my father secured in the 80s. My lawyer, Ellen Reed, a no-nonsense woman, said, "Tom, this is harassment. We're countersuing." But the town was divided. Some called me a vigilante. Others, like my neighbors Lisa and Carlos Mendez, thanked me for standing up to Margaret's bullying. They started a petition to oust her, signed by 35 residents. Then Margaret's cousin, Daniel, came forward with a USB drive. "She's unhinged," he said, handing it over. It held recordings of Margaret plotting to scare Tom out, with fires and fake fines. Ellen used it to build our case, but Margaret's allies struck again. Dead chickens and a pig were left on my driveway with a note: "Drop the suit, or it's you next." Deputy Torres warned me Margaret had dangerous friends. That night, I heard chains rattling. 2 figures were at my stable with a sledgehammer and kerosene. I shouted, and Scout charged. They lit a match, and flames roared up the stable wall. I ran into the fire, freeing the horses and cows as the roof cracked above me. I barely escaped, collapsing as Torres arrived, pulling me to safety. The stable was ash. No animals died, but the loss was gut-wrenching. The trail cam was smashed, no evidence. Ellen dug deeper, tracing HOA emails to Victor Klein, Margaret's ally and owner of a security firm. His van was spotted nearby during the fire. Klein confessed to Ellen in secret, admitting he thought it was just pranks to scare me. He turned over texts proving Margaret's orders. But then the bank called. A lien was filed against my farm for unpaid HOA dues since 2003. The signature was my father's, dated 2007, impossible since he died in 2001. I stormed the county clerk's office, proving the forgery. Ellen filed for fraud and an injunction. Margaret's retaliation intensified. My supporters were targeted, Lisa's car was vandalized, and Carlos got threatening letters. A drone buzzed my farm, watching me. I shot it down and gave the pieces to Torres. "They're looking for dirt," he said. Then the county inspector arrived, citing animal neglect based on an anonymous tip. He found nothing, but the pressure was relentless. Ellen suggested going public. I met Sarah Boone, a Chattanooga Times reporter, at my ruined stable. I shared everything: recordings, forged papers, Klein's texts. Her article, "Farmer vs. HOA, A Battle for Home," went viral. Support poured in: donations, volunteers, and messages from across the country. Margaret called it fake news and sued Sarah for defamation, but Daniel's recordings surfaced in court, sinking her further. One night, I found rat poison near my water troughs. Torres upped patrols, furious. Then Ellen called. Margaret was subpoenaed, and the trial was set. Days before, Margaret appeared at my gate, leaning on a cane. "You could have walked away, Tom," she hissed. "You'll lose everything." I shut the gate. 2 nights later, a bullet shattered my kitchen window, missing me by inches. Torres found shell casings, but no prints. I didn't sleep, shotgun across my lap. At trial, Ellen presented the forged lien, Daniel's recordings, and Klein's evidence. Margaret's lawyer produced a fake 1991 affidavit claiming my farm joined the HOA. Ellen dismantled it, proving my father never signed. The judge, Clara Holt, a former Marine, wasn't fooled. Then, at 3:12 a.m. before the final hearing, Scout barked. I caught Margaret sneaking onto my land with a crowbar and matches. I fired a warning shot. She froze, snarling, "You ruined me." Torres arrested her, finding bolt cutters and kerosene-soaked rags. Klein and another HOA member turned state's evidence, exposing Margaret's conspiracy. She was sentenced to 15 years for arson, fraud, and harassment. The HOA dissolved, replaced by a powerless community group. But the story didn't end there. Torres uncovered Margaret's payments from Nathan Wells, a Nashville developer who'd bought 18 Willow Creek properties through shell companies. He wanted my farm for a luxury golf course and condos. My land was the centerpiece. Wells offered $2.8 million, which I refused. With Ellen and a national farm advocacy group, we filed federal charges against Wells for fraud and coercion. Media ate it up. Tennessee farmer defies corporate greed. Wells took a plea, forfeiting his properties and paying $10 million in fines, barred from Tennessee land deals for a decade. The community rebuilt my stable. Neighbors held a festival on my land, kids rode horses, and families grilled burgers. A sign read, Carver Farm stays. A retired teacher, Henry Walsh, donated 200 acres for a second sanctuary. We expanded, adding therapy programs for veterans and kids. One morning, as Scout napped in the sun, I watched my horses graze, free from fear. My father's words echoed. Some fights break you, others build you. This one did both. What would you have done? If someone threatened your home, your animals, your life, would you fight back, even with a gun? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about justice, violence, and standing up to bullies. Your voice matters.